Good morning. How are we doing today?
Good morning. I'm fine. How are you?
Great, great, great. I just wanted to ask you, possibly, who do you think is going to clinch today, Kamala or Trump?
Well, it's hard to say, but I hope Kamala wins.
Right.
Yeah.
And do you feel by any chance that either candidate has made a compelling argument for there to be voted for?
I think Kamala is appealing more to everyday people's struggle. I think she's more like she's always said that she's concerned about the cost of living, and I think people can relate to that.
Right.
Especially in a city like New York, I would imagine that that's something that's really important to people.
Right.
I think Trump is he's more concerned internationally with what's going on, in my viewpoint.
Right. So you're more concerned that Kamala might be more relatable in terms of the middle class.
Yeah.
Right. So what do you say to people who say that post 2020, that internationally the world, the Middle East, and the world unravel? So do you feel like the Biden-Harris administration bears some responsibility for that?
I think whenever you're in charge, you have to bear some responsibility for that. But again, Kamala was the vice president; she wasn't the president.
Right.
So she
So
has.
she sort of bears a lot less responsibility.
I think so. I think so. Yeah. I think she did the best that she could.
Right.
In her position. But again, she wasn't the president.
Right.
But I think she gained a lot of experience from that.
Right.
From that whole situation. So I think she's more equipped than.
Totally.
You know.
She should be. Yeah.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this: what do you say? Because you did bring up experience. What do you say to people who say that, okay, well, Trump has been in office before, he has had interactions with international foreign leaders, that he may be in a better position to negotiate some sort of peaceful settlement in the world?
Well, he has had a lot of experience, but I don't see any of his negotiations being peaceful. Quite honestly, he seems like he would only exacerbate the problems.
You think so?
Yeah.
What do you say to some people who say that during Trump's administration, there was relative peace in the Middle East and the world, and he actually achieved the Abraham Accords, which actually had Saudi Arabia recognizing Israel as a state. And then post 2020, the world just totally unraveled, and it seems like the Biden administration was either unable or unwilling to have some sort of settlement.
Well, again, I mean, I would give him some credit for his accomplishments, during his term. I wouldn't take that away from him. But I think what the country needs right now is to deal with what's going on internally,
Right.
more so
Absolutely.
than what's going on outside.
Absolutely.
So
And well, some may say that you actually, what you've just said coincides with what Trump's focus is, which is focus on Americans, right? So you might have a policy that is actually coincidental with what Trump's policy is, which
Well,
is about Americans. As I mean, let's talk again about what do you think about the criminal justice reform? Some may say that Biden, with the 1994 crime bill, jailed the crap out of young African American brothers and sisters. And then Donald Trump came in and he actually instituted the criminal justice reform, which was something that every politician was talking about and actually was not able to achieve it. And he came in and in one term was able to achieve amazing criminal justice reform. And sadly, when Biden Harris came in, the first thing that Biden did was to reverse the criminal justice bill that Trump had achieved. What do you say to that?
Well, again, what I say is, firstly, Kamala wasn't the president.
Right.
Biden was. So I think we have to make that distinction.
Okay.
And again, I wouldn't take away from what Trump has done for the country, but I think the issue with Trump is that he's very polarizing.
What do you think he's polarizing?
He's very polarizing. So I think in order to serve the country properly, I think you need somebody who can unite the people. Someone who's more respectful. I think for whatever reason, his party has encouraged.
You think he's too much a straight shooter, like shoot from the hip, says whatever he thinks?
Well, that's not really a problem. I just think that it goes beyond that.
Right.
I think there's been a lack of respect on his party side.
Right.
When it comes to women, when it comes to people of color, when it comes to poor, when it comes to immigrants. I think that he doesn't have a lot of class about how he addresses
Right.
those groups. You know.
In particular, what are we talking
Well, okay. So you remember there was like this comparison that I won't. He didn't make, but he didn't really check. One of his party supporters made a comparison between Kamala and the Haktua girl, this porn star. I don't know if you're
about? Oh
familiar
my
with
God,
that.
no, I'm not familiar with that at all.
Yeah. So yeah, I just think it's
So one of his surrogates said that, and you thought he should have checked it.
yeah. I feel
Right.
like he doesn't check his
Where
party.
did that happen? I mean,
That was a few months ago.
was his surrogate actually at a place where he was at, or it was just a personal opinion?
It was a personal opinion.
Right.
But
So you
again,
thought he should have, like,
yeah,
stepped in and checked it.
yeah,
Yeah, I got you.
I think a lot of his supporters are out, like they're running wild.
Right. So what do you say with the whole woman and respect thing? What do you say to some people who say, it says, oh, Donald Trump doesn't have respect for women. What do you say to some people who say that, okay, having an alleged affair with Willie Brown, married man, was that respectful of women? And we got to remember, we just take you back a little. Herman Cain, when he ran for president, it was discovered that he had an affair, extramarital affair, and he had to drop out of the race. Well, now the media is crickets on the whole Willie Brown Kamala saga. Is that respectful of women? And what about the comment, the garbage comment? Do you think that was divisive, or was that a appropriate comment to make by Biden to call Trump supporters garbage, to call your fellow Americans garbage?
No, but again, Kamala didn't say that.
Right.
And
But again, just as you said a second ago, don't you think that Kamala should have actually checked Biden for saying that? Just as you
okay,
said
fair
that
enough, fair enough,
Trump should have checked one
fair
of his
enough,
surrogates for saying that?
fair
You think
enough.
that's something she should have stepped in and said, if
Yeah,
she's concerned about bringing the country together? I mean,
yeah,
do you think that's something she should have stepped in and said, look, I don't
yeah,
think that comment is appropriate?
yeah,
Yeah.
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 I would say that.
Okay.
You know, she's
Well, I'm
not
glad that
above.
you're intellectually honest.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
appreciate that. Sound like a very smart young woman, and
I think so.
yeah. Thank you so much. I just wish that so many people will take the time to do a little bit of research, before. Because, for example, let's look at, for example, school choice. We've always been told that Democrats love black folks and they do so much for black folks. But let's take a look at school choice. Trump came into power and he says, look, I'll tell you this. If you have a school, and we know that's a problem for our young kids, if you have a school that's failing in your neighborhood, I want you to get up, take your kids, and go into any neighborhood where the schools are performing better, whether it be white, black, or green. Now, Biden says, oh, no. We don't want to create a racial jungle. So people are telling you that they love you, don't want your kids to come to school and interact with their kids in schools that are better than in your neighborhood. What do you say to that?
I think that's just a temporary fix. I think
Right.
I think what needs to happen is the resources and the budget needs to be allocated to our communities.
Right.
I think our communities need to be strengthened financially in order to do so.
Right.
Yeah, I don't think going into pretty much like busing. This is kind of like what you're
Right. Yeah.
suggesting.
I don't
don't.
know how old you are, but back in the days, there was a big thing.
Yeah.
Canarsie. Remember that when Canarsie was mainly
Yeah.
Jewish and Italian and stuff
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that?
yeah.
Remember that? Right.
But what I'm saying is, it's just a temporary situation.
Right. Totally agree.
So that's how I look at it.
Yeah. But at least somebody had an initiative, Probably if you put pressure on the schools that are doing really well, and probably that might prompt somebody to take a look at it, right?
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? So it's kind of paradoxical for people to say that I love you so much, and yet still don't want you to interact with them or come into their schools.
And that's fine.
That's just
I
crazy,
feel
right?
well. It's crazy, but that just
It seems a little
goes to
racist
show.
to me. What do you say?
I think it's definitely a little racist. That's
Right.
why we need our own system to be built up and
There
strengthened.
you go.
You see what
There
I'm
you
saying?
go.
So,
Absolutely agree. Couldn't agree more.
you can't force people to like you, and you can't
Absolutely
you can't
not.
force people to love your kids.
Right.
So
Right.
that's our job.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
so, we need to fight tooth and nail for the funding that we need in order to make
Absolutely.
sure everything is
I'll
done.
just ask you one last question because I know you're a busy
Okay,
lady
yes,
and you're on your way to
yes,
work
yes.
probably.
Uh-huh.
What do you say to people who said that black folks should be strategic with their vote? In that, don't just every time vote almost 100% for Democrats. I always liken it to this. It's like a guy who's been with a girl for a very long time, doesn't bring her flowers anymore, doesn't take her out to dinner, has a bunch of kids with her, and doesn't show the love that he used to show when they started dating. But if for some reason that lady should possibly start looking at another guy, guess what? He's going to buckle up. He might change his position. So I think it's imperative that black folks who vote 100% all the time for Democrats should possibly look at doing that as a strategic move. Then possibly, because you know what it is, the Democrats feel, okay, they have us in the bag. We ain't going nowhere. So they can do whatever they want to us. You see what I'm saying? But if we were to decide, hey, we're going to look at somewhere else, then possibly we might get a little more from them.
I can tell you what my strategy is.
Right.
I'm not a registered Democrat. I'm
Very
registered.
good.
I'm a registered independent, and
Awesome.
so I vote just like you said. It depends on the person's platform. So
Right.
I've voted Republican, conservative before,
Very smart.
and Democratic. So I think maybe if the strategy for me, I think would be to leave the Democratic Party, become independent, and then allocate the vote as needed. You know.
That is awesome, man.
That's what
That's
I would
awesome.
do.
So that's what you recommend.
Yeah.
Wow. That is awesome. Thank you so much.
Gotta get
I
going.
appreciate it. Have a great day.
Okay.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate
All right,
it.
thanks.
Have-
Bye-bye.
Thanks. What's your name? I'm sorry. What's your name?